woods are dark and deep, and whatever evil lurks within them must be kept secret. For centuries, grandmothers have warned their grandchildren not to stray from the well-trodden path, not to speak to strangers in the woods, lest they meet a terrible end. And every once in a while, the woods have taken something from us, never to give it back. What happened to Sarah in the woods will happen again. But here, in the whispering woods, we remember the ones that got away. We remember those who learned to fight back, who stared down the darkness and lived to tell the tale. Because the woods are full of monsters, but there are heroes here too. Sometimes the bravest of them all are the monsters. Sometimes the greatest monster a girl can face is herself. For in the whispering woods, everything is a trick of the light. Everything is a lie, and no one is ever truly safe, not even the hunters. Our story began before the moon knew the sky, when the world was still new, and the woods whispered secrets only to those who would listen. Among them was a lone she-wolf. Her fur was the color of storm clouds. Her eyes shone with moonlight. She was a child of the night, born of shadow and fang. This was Luna, the loneliest creature in the whispering woods, a victim of her own power. As far back as anyone could remember, Luna had always been alone. That was the price of greatness. To be strong enough to hunt anything, you have to be strong enough to make nothing your prey. That was the burden of the alpha female, the strongest of her kind, the leader of the pack. But when the pack turns against its leader, you become the monster. You become the villain in everyone else's story. That's how our story started, with a prophecy. The daughter of the moon, a child of the night, will lead us into eternal winter. She will steal the sun from the sky and leave only endless darkness. And so they cast her out. They hunted her, drove her from the land she knew, from the life she had known for all her years. She wandered until her paws bled, until the forest grew dim and cold. Then she found it, a place where sunlight never fell and icy branches clawed at the frozen ground. Here, deep in the whispering woods, no one could find her. Here, she was safe. That's how she became the most feared creature in the whispering woods, not because she was vicious or cruel, but because of her power. See, no one could hurt her, no one dared touch her, and that made her the perfect monster. And then one day, something moved in next door. She felt it when it arrived. A tremor in the earth, a whisper on the wind, another presence waking in the dead of night. The thing made no effort to hide, gave off no scent of fear. Curiosity tugged at her, a feeling she thought long forgotten. It stirred something inside of her, something good, something warm. Could there be more than just her in the whispering woods? Could there be someone who understood, who knew what it was like to be alone? She had to see for herself. That's how she found him, curled in a ball in the snow, a small, shivering thing, with fur the color of dandelion fluff. She watched him for a time, studying the way he moved, the strength in his shoulders. He was a wolf, yes, but he was different. He wasn't like the wolves that chased her through the trees, snarling and biting at her heels. There was something in his eyes, something that made her stop, made her hesitate. And when she saw his face, when she saw the way his ears twitched and his tail curled around his paws, she understood. He was alone, too. Fear was the first emotion she'd felt in years. It was the same fear she'd seen in the eyes of her pack all those years ago. But this time, it was different. She didn't turn away. She didn't run. She stayed rooted to the spot, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel alone. The little wolf looked up at her and whined, and without even thinking about it, Luna took a step forward. She lowered her head and sniffed him, and he licked her nose. And in that moment, they understood each other. They knew they weren't alone anymore. Together they explored the parts of the woods that had always been hers alone. Together they chased rabbits and deer. And as the years passed, Luna found herself falling in love with the game, with the thrill of the hunt. But her favorite thing was teaching the little wolf how to survive in the whispering woods. She taught him which berries tasted sweet and which would kill you in 2 heartbeats, which herbs could heal any wound, and which could make you sleep forever. She showed him the best places to hunt and the safest places to hide. In return, he told her about the stars above, about the world beyond the woods. He was young, just a pup when he lost his mother to the hunters, but he remembered what she used to tell him about the sky, about the constellations that stretched across it like fallen stars. They shared everything, these 2 outcasts, the strongest wolf and the little wolf cub, until the day they both realized that the bond between them meant something more, something deeper. They were 2 halves of the same whole, 2 souls bound together by a musk love that ran as deep as the roots of the oldest tree. That's how Luna became the guardian of the whispering woods, not by choice, but by instinct. She was born to protect the innocent, to guide those lost in the woods, to defend those who couldn't defend themselves. And he was her anchor, her connection to the world outside the woods, the reminder of everything she'd lost and everything she could still save. That's why she didn't believe the whispers when they started spreading through the trees. She was strong enough to ignore them, to block them out. But he listened. The whispers made him doubt himself, wonder if he was really strong enough. He tried to push them away, but sometimes the whispers followed him home. That's what happens when you're half monster, half man. Sometimes the darkness gets inside you, burrows in your bones, and then you start believing the lies. The last time he went into town, they called him Monster. They threw rocks at him and he ran. So when he came home with scratches on his paws and fear in his eyes, she knew what had happened. She nuzzled him, trying to drive the fear out. But it lingered, and as the days passed, the fear grew, until one morning she woke up and he was gone. The scratching post was empty. The bed was cold. He'd gone back to town. He was looking for answers. And as she watched him go, she knew she had to stop him, had to bring him back before the whispers broke him. But she was too late. When she found him, he was already gone. The villagers had caught him. They were taking him away. She watched them drag him to the square, to the place where the executions were held, to the place where the townspeople gathered to watch the monster burn. And as the flames rose higher, she knew she had to do something. But what? The whispers had been right. He was a monster. He needed her help. She just didn't know how to give it. Fear twisted in her gut, colder than any winter she'd known. It paralyzed her. She couldn't move. She couldn't speak. All she could do was watch as the villagers cheered. That's when the whispers became screams. And with a primal roar, she charged. She tore through the crowd, sending them scattering like mice. She ripped the ropes holding him to the pyre and knocked the townspeople off their feet. She was unstoppable. Nothing could stop her, not even the flames. She pulled him close and vanished into the woods. As the fire raged behind them, he turned to her, his eyes wide with surprise. And in that moment, she knew that whatever happened next, they would face it together. He was her weakness, her reason for living, and she would protect him with her life. This is the story of the monster and the man who loved her.